sorry I couldn't be there with you guys. Getting recognized on the football field tonight. It's our postseason. We're in the second round of the playoffs, so our kids are really excited. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how I view P20 and what it means to me. Growing up, I grew up super poor. Food stamps, we moved around a lot. You know, when my parents couldn't pay rent, that we would just move to the next place. I went to about 8 different elementary schools, 4 different middle schools, and by the time I got to high school, my parents kind of got their act together and we settled down. And then so it was really, really rough growing up. And my dad lost his leg when I was about 12, and so he couldn't work. And then my mom was a drug addict, so that kind of added an interesting concept to my life. And so growing up, you know, funnily, is that my dad put a really strong emphasis on education. And so he felt like in order for us children, because there were 4 of us, in order for us to break the poverty cycle, we had to get some form of education. He didn't care what it was, but he would tell us, you know, if you want to do better than me and your mom, you got to go to school. You got to do something. You got to do it. And so I went to college and got my bachelor's degree. And that was very important to me. And I worked hard. I worked so hard. And I was not in the top of my class. I graduated from a very, very small high school. I graduated with about 99 people. And there was probably about 400 people in the whole high school. And so, like, growing up in a small community that had high poverty rates, there wasn't a large success rate for those growing up in poverty. And so I worked super hard so that I could achieve those things, and I knew that's the only way that I could do it. It did take me a little bit longer to get my bachelor's degree. I went to school for 5 years instead of 4, but I enjoyed my 5 years in my undergrad. Something that resonated with me about P20 education was that it's lifelong learning. And so as an educator, like, you know, that kind of is where we at. We want students to crave knowledge, and we want them to be lifelong learners, like always searching for something and to be better. An article I read about P20 stated that it not only should be lifelong learning, but it should be seamless, so that when students go from one point to another in their life, in the realm of education or in their work or their career or their life, that it should be seamless, that they should understand certain things. And so I feel like in career tech, I'm very fortunate because I am afforded the opportunity to give students real life experiences and expose them to things that they wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. And so something unique about agricultural education is we have something called a supervised agricultural experience project, and it allows students to have a project outside of school, and every student enrolled in Ag Ed is supposed to have one. And so they're different things. And so funnily, I keep saying funnily, I don't even think that's a word. But I have a student that he's taken me for 3 years. He's walking around the room right now, and he's recording this for me, and his passion is photography. And so while I don't teach a photography class, it allows him the opportunity to share that passion with me and, you know, kind of get some real life, real world experience. And so if you're in a horticulture class and your passion is about horses, then you can do an SAE project on horses. And so it really is tailored to what the student's needs or wants are. And so this has been around since 1917, since the Smith-Hughes Act was passed, that started vocational education in schools. And so it's kind of like they were forethinkers of what should be when it came to education. I do feel like there is a disconnect when it's from high school to college. And it's funny because as I read the blogs about what teachers say, I'm like, crap, I was that teacher. Is, you know, like, man, I can't believe you didn't learn this in middle school. Why didn't you learn this in middle school? How do you not know that? Or when you get to college, you're just going to be a number. Or when you get to college, that professor's not going to care if you come to class. They're going to get paid anyways. And I've been guilty of saying that. And this is my 12th year in education, and by no means am I perfect. By no means do I know everything, and I don't think I ever will. But I've tried to stop saying those cliche phrases, because now I'm focused more on, okay, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do when you graduate high school, and how can we get you there? Because when I was in high school, you had two opportunities for a diploma. You could get a vocational diploma, or you could get a college prep diploma. And now the only option is one track. And so I feel like that does a disservice to our students, because if you're going to a trade school, why in the world do you need to know how to write an annotated bibliography? Like, one of my students the other day sent me an email and was like, hey, she's in college right now. She's like, hey, I need help writing this annotated bibliography. I need to know how to cite peer-reviewed essays. And I was like, oh, okay, I can show you how to do peer-reviewed essays. We do that, grad school. I know how to do that. But then I have never gotten a text message from a student that's at a trade school that said, hey, Miss Pollard, how do you do an annotated bibliography? I need to know how to do it to learn how to weld. And so, I feel like students have very different aspirations, as educators, it is important that we find out what those aspirations are and really allow those aspirations to flourish. Because if we keep telling a kid, you need to go to a D1 school, you need to go to a major university, this is the only way, then we're going to keep driving the gap larger and larger and driving students away from education. Another example that I think is quite funny as to where our education system is at right now is that I have younger brother and sisters, and my brother's a police officer, and then my two younger sisters are still in school, and my middle sister was an honor grad from high school. She graduated top of her class, super book smart student, and she sent me a text message one day and she goes, hey, how do you address an envelope? And I was like, what? How are you an honor graduate? Time out. How are you an honor graduate and don't know how to address an envelope? What are we teaching our students that they can't address an envelope? Like little things. And I feel like I'm blessed in a vocational, career tech classroom that I get to do unique projects. But it just blew my mind that an honor graduate didn't know how to address an envelope. Like, what are we doing? And so one of the unique opportunities that I provide my students is we have a floral design class. And so in that floral design class, we didn't have money to pay for live flowers for students to work with. And so we were trying to come up with a way to give students the chance to work with live flowers. And so we came up with this program. It's called BUDS, Building Unique Designs by Students. And so each month you could purchase a monthly subscription to the BUDS program. And we deliver the flowers to you, and it's like a win-win situation. You get beautiful flowers once a month, and the students get the opportunity to work with hands-on equipment, like what's in the floral industry. They're creating beautiful designs, that sort of stuff. And so we deliver them out in the community. And today, in fact, was our BUDS delivery day. And so the students have been working hard all, week, creating beautiful designs, and they are gorgeous. And so we make no money off of the program. All the money goes back into the flowers, so you get all the money back in a beautiful design. And so it just has really been wonderful for our community to see what our students are doing in our classes, and it gives my students the opportunity to get real life experience. And I also kind of wanted to touch on another thing that we have in our community is a career academy. And for me, I've been here for 5 years, and it's the first time that I've ever really worked with a career academy, and it's been really awesome because if I have a student that wants to be a welder when they grow up, I can send them over to the career academy to my husband, and they can see if that's even something they're interested in. Or if they want to be a veterinarian, we have a vet tech program over at the Career Academy, and so they can start gaining some of those hours that they need to get into vet school. And so I just feel like those real life experiences are super important. And I want to tell you one other story. And it's funny because I've already done this recording once, but for some reason on my computer it didn't record sound, so I'm having to do it twice. I'm trying to remember all of the things that I said. But it was my third year of teaching, and of course, so I was young and nostalgic and thought every student could be saved. And I had a young man, and he was a fourth year student, so he should have been graduating, but he didn't have enough credits. And he was in AP, or not AP, he was in world literature. I think it was world literature. And he wanted to be a welder. He had already been accepted to welding school, was completely ready. Are we good? Okay. He'd already been accepted to welding school. He had a 65 in this world literature class. And I went to the teacher and I was like, hey, what can we do to get him ready to graduate? It was a few weeks before graduation, and the teacher said to me, there's nothing you can do. There's no way that he can pass. There's nothing you can do. And literally that child dropped out, went and got his GED, and went down to welding school in Tulsa in Florida. And the funny thing now is that I keep up with him on social media. He is making more money than I am. And so it's just really, really awesome that I get to share those experiences and kind of that, what their accomplishments are. And so I feel like when I read that article about education should be seamless from jump to jump, it just made sense to me, because like if we really want students to be passionate about their education, then we have to meet them where they are. And so if a kid has a passion about something, we really need to focus on that and hone on it. And we need to push them towards that, instead of thinking that every student is this little cookie cutter image of what we think education should be. And so it is a teacher that's really hard, because you want to meet every student where they are, but you will literally kill yourself trying to meet the needs of all of your kids. And so, you know, like some of the things that I see on a day-to-day basis, I just feel like it's important that we do what's best for our students, and that we start bridging that gap in between high school and post-secondary options, and then what they plan to do after they graduate. And I feel like in our community with our Career Academy, and we partner with our Chamber of Commerce to make sure that we are offering opportunities for our students that get them jobs in our community. And so we have a tremendous program here in Newton County, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. And I hope that, you know, like that we are continuing to offer our students the best education possible. Thank y'all so much, and I hope y'all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.